36 years and 4 days after they did it more famously, India have once again beaten the West Indies in a World Cup in England. This time though, the odds were very different. They've flexed some serious muscle and they've downed the Windies by 125 runs to not only take another step close to sealing a semi-final spot. It's still not quite confirmed given how things stand, but what is confirmed is that the West Indies World Cup semi-final hopes are now over. They join South Africa and Afghanistan as the third team to officially be eliminated in terms of not being able to make it for the semi-finals. That after Virat Kohli won the toss, batted first, put some runs himself and saw MS Dhoni and Hardik Pandya ensure that India didn't fall significantly short of a competitive score in the end. That 268 with the bowling attack and the sort of form that Mohammad Shami, Jasprit Bumrah and the two wrist spinners are in was just far too good. Shami with a career best 4 for 16 to follow his hat-trick against Afghanistan, and that once again keeps the discussion firmly in the positive for India, and there is going to be a critical post-mortem or an evaluation of the West Indies, which we'll do on ESPNcricinfo Matchday UK 2019 with Daren Ganga in just a bit, Alexis Nunez outside Manchester, but first Michael Hussey and Murali Kartik in studio. Very impressive that, Kartik.
Absolutely bossed the game.
Yeah.
Literally, for a while I thought that could this be a touch and go thing, because West Indies have some power in their ranks, and 268 possibly if the wicket suddenly starts playing better. But from the word go, Shami was outstanding, Bumrah as always, and then the spinners flexing their muscles as well. Brilliant show, like literally 123 run victory, and if KL Rahul hadn't dropped it and if they hadn't tried to buy the wicket, it would have possibly been 145 run victory. So literally dominated this game.
There are certain areas I'm sure that even Virat Kohli in his post-match comments has pointed out that they need to improve on, but this now is looking like the most threatening, potent, all-round bowling unit of the tournament, Mike Hussey.
Yeah, I think I mentioned in the mid-inning show that it's got so much balance. You've got two outstanding seam bowlers, so if there's something in the pitch for the seam bowlers, they'll find it. That ball to get rid of Shai Hope from Shami, that's one of the balls of the tournament for me. That's absolutely unplayable. Seam back a long way. And then obviously two outstanding wrist spinners as well. So they've got both bases covered. They look a well-rounded team, a confident team. And yeah, they're going to be extremely hard to beat in this tournament going around.
I mean, it's showing signs of a seriously good team in terms of depth as well. You have Bhuvaneshwar Kumar ruled out, who was firstly keeping Mohammad Shami out of the team in the first place. Shami comes in and does this. You've had Shikhar Dhawan, such a big player, missing. They had to do with Vijay Shankar to bowl in a big game against Pakistan. He delivered. It just seems to be coming together for India.
Yeah, and brilliantly. And you look at the kind of players who are sitting out as well. You've got the likes of Ravindra Jadeja, Dinesh Karthik, who's so good. Obviously, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, and now Rishabh Pant has been drafted in. So serious strength there as well. Ravindra Jadeja, you know how good he can be when he plays, or he kept one of the wrist spinners out before the World Cup. Yeah, good to see them. It's just that, as Hussey mentioned the other day, you want to peak at the right time. India is playing real good cricket. Yes, they've had, possibly by Virat standards, not the best of batting days against Afghanistan and West Indies. But he himself mentioned that no, they're not going to be 300 plus games anyway. So if you try and find a way to scramble to the above par score, then I definitely feel that this bowling unit is good enough to restrict opposition or chase down.
Just on Shami's performance, it's going to be very hard for Bhuvaneshwar to get back into the team now. He got a hat-trick in his first game. He's picked up 4 for 16, I think it was today. He's bowling magnificently. I can't see them making the change back to Bhuvaneshwar at this stage.
Okay.
He can work on his hammies.
Sign of a good team, as simple as that. On the other hand, it's going to be quite a critical analysis of the West Indies, whose campaign started with so much promise, beating New Zealand in a warm-up game, then blowing Pakistan away in their first game of the tournament, and it's all just gone horribly wrong since. Daren Ganga, this time that some questions must be asked of the West Indies now. Where would you start?
I think it's a lot of learnings that the West Indies will take away from this World Cup campaign. One, I think maybe too many T20 players in this West Indian squad for this 50-over World Cup, and not being able to adapt and adjust their game to suit what the requirements are for this format of the game. Some are already starting to talk about players who have been predominantly channeled into playing Test cricket alone, and they making that transition from Test cricket into 50-over cricket. You look at a guy like Roston Chase, who's got 5 Test match centuries and who shows really good application and batting skills. You know, might be able to make an impact in the ODI cricket as well. But definitely, The application lacking, the ability to lay a foundation 10 innings and expand and bat to a situation in challenging sort of conditions as well. That application just lacking. So you question the skills of the players. And the second thing will be the information being shared to players. You look at the approach by Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni. They both got half centuries for India, and more than 50% of their runs coming in twos, threes, and singles. So that should inform an approach which should be communicated to a team in terms of how they go about chasing a target score of 269. We've not seen that. Many of the West Indian players looking for the power shots are not really understanding that there might be a little bit of adjustment required for them to get over the line. So that adaptability, we've seen it with the bowling, too short, and then after a long time, this West Indian team having to adjust to find the right line and lengths, and that is what they did well today. But again, in the batting, they're too one-dimensional in terms of looking for their power shots, and especially against good bowlers, you can't do that consistently well all the time. You will create opportunities, and this India side, they're a very good bowling unit, and they proved exactly that.
How much of this is also down to this being a team, Daren, which has always sort of been chopped and changed in the build-up to the World Cup? Chris Gayle picks and chooses the cricket he wants to play. They tried to put Andre Russell in. Did it feel at some point that they were hoping on too many things working together in spite of the same set of players not playing regularly in the 4 years in between two World Cups?
It's always a challenge, and I think the challenge of players being available when they're at third-party T20 competitions, that's one challenge, not only for the West Indies, for many test-playing nations, having their players available for their national setup. That has been an issue in the West Indian environment. I also think players sort of stereotyping and channeling their game towards the T20 format and playing majority of their cricketing year in that format and finding it very difficult to sort of play other formats of the game. That has been a huge challenge. The third thing I would want to say as well is you look at a guy like Nicholas Pooran, who was never on the radar for this West Indian ODI team. He came into the World Cup, if my memory serves me well, with only 2 ODI matches, and here it is. This guy has been entrusted with batting at number 4, batting at number 5, having to score centuries at the international level when he's never scored a century in list A cricket, nor first-class cricket. So that to me is setting up yourself for failure. And if you look overall of this West Indian side in one-day ODI cricket, you would see that the last time they won a series against any team would have been back in 2014. That is how inconsistent this team has been. There's always going to be question marks over Jason Holder as a leader as well, because at the end of the day, you rank a captain based on his ability to win titles, and this team has been very, very short of winning titles in 50-over cricket.
Okay, the mood will be slightly somber in West Indies cricket today, an exit from the World Cup, which started with so much promise and optimism. Alexis Nunes followed this campaign very closely. She's by herself, the lone last warrior standing outside Manchester. So let's go to Alexis. They had their moments, Alexis. They could have got the points against New Zealand. They could have chased down the runs against Australia. But here we are now. We're talking about the West Indies having a World Cup campaign that's gone terribly flat.
Oh, yes, Rana, that is coulda, woulda, shoulda. That just seems to be the theme that we've been having, and the theme that we sound like a broken record saying with all of our analysts, that the West Indies always get these bright starts, and that's just seems to be the style of play as well. You get a bright start, but just cannot follow through to the 50 overs, much like this entire campaign. Get that really bright start against Pakistan, had everybody going, we're finally excited about West Indies cricket again, and then again, it just descended into an absolute horror show, save for some brilliant performances that we saw in between. But again, with this match today, like I said, I went in and I had to put back on my sunglasses, not because of the sun that's shining so brightly here, but I'm hiding the tears because I came in with my expectations a little low and a little somber. But then the bowling, which was been a point that Mikey Holding even said it before this World Cup started, he thought was a weaker point of this West Indies team going into this tournament, and he was interested to see how they'll do it. And today we saw what we could say was a disciplined bowling performance. Jason Holder has come under criticism on how he's using his bowlers, if he probably takes them off too soon when they're obviously on fire, and then brings them back a little too late and concedes all the runs, in the middle overs. But today he kept them on, like the likes of himself and Kemar approach, and I think it worked beautifully. And we saw a disciplined performance, and now we said, okay, the batting just has to support the bowling performance. And the batting, which is something that everyone's come to know and love in West Indies cricket. Sure, the explosive batting that they've made us love in T20 cricket, and clearly that's just the 0 to 100 real quick style that everyone seems to be happy with or happy taking on, especially when they get under pressure. If you don't see Chris Gayle getting off to a good start or a Shea Hope that's there to support him, then it's like the other batsmen just come in and try to play the shots a little too early. I read an interesting stat that says the West Indies are the only team that are more aggressive in the middle overs than they are in any other parts of the game. If you look at how Pakistan play even, or England or Australia, they're more platform layers, and it seems that we're just not seeing that platform laying that they need to really and truly do before they know, or before we know they can turn it on in the end and in the death overs. And unfortunately, as Daren pointed out, it is that T20 cricket mentality that seems to just stop them from really lasting the 50 overs, and probably why we haven't seen the West Indies win a one-day series since 2014. It's an unfortunate thing because we know exactly what the batting can do, and it's unfortunate that the batting is what let the West Indies down today, because this Indian crowd, even though it was a home game for India, they were absolutely going mental when the likes of Carlos Brathwaite and Chris Gayle came out, because they know exactly what they can do. And we've spoken to so many Indian journalists in the press box, and they said, look, the world is better when the West Indies are doing well. They showed us a glimmer of it in this World Cup, and it's sad that it has come to this kind of an end. All right, well, clearly, you know, Swanee, if Swanee were here, you've got to have one fan at least running through the camera. I can't do the cheers mate for this one, but I think we're going to get my producer Graham to buy me some adult grape juice and a box of tissues as we make our way all the way down to London to dry my tears. And hopefully I'll see you guys again on Saturday.
Of course you will, Alexis, and maybe you'll bring Graham Swan down with you to just have a glass of grape juice with him, with the way their campaign is going in England too. Alexis Nunes, thank you very much. We'll have a lot more from you, even though the West Indies campaign will go no further than the league phase of this World Cup. But there's some interesting points made by both Daren Ganga and Alexis Nunes, which I'd love to carry forward with the rest of the panel here. We'll also just have a look at a stat which doesn't bode well for West Indies cricket, and that's the biggest margin of defeat for the Windies in World Cups in terms of runs, and this one now in third place behind two big losses in 2015 to both South Africa and the quarterfinal against New Zealand. If you are to, after listening to everything that Daren said, Hassan and Alexis as well, and what you've seen of this West Indies team, if you are to chart a roadmap now for West Indies cricket, where would you first want to start? You have a Chris Gayle who's going to be 40 this September, who's now decided he wants to play on international cricket. You've seen good things at the ball and good things with the bat, but not quite together.
For me, it's not so much this team. There's no quick fix for the West Indians in their one-day cricket. It's got to come from the level below, and maybe the level below that. So I would want to try and set up the best possible first-class system could possibly find. Make that competitive, make it really tough cricket, play lots of one-day cricket, play lots of four-day cricket, build up that really good, strong base, start developing new players that can then start channeling. It's not going to happen straight away, but start channeling those good players into the West Indian team moving forward. I agree. I think because a lot of the players love playing the T20 cricket, it's had an effect on the way they play and their effectiveness in 50-over cricket, and probably Test cricket in that breath as well. So I think you just need to find players that are committed to West Indies cricket, that are willing to do the hard yards in the levels below, dominate the levels below, the first-class cricket, and then come up the ranks and be committed to West Indies cricket. And yeah, as I said, there's no quick fix, there's no easy fix. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of planning, and it just takes time, I'm afraid.
I mean, T20 cricket can hone skill sets, Daren. We've seen that through the course of the IPL, how much the Indian team has improved as a result. There are still good signs from the Sheldon Cottrell's had a terrific tournament. Where things are changing in the boardrooms of West Indies cricket too. They seem to be going in a better direction. But if you just have to build a team in the image of certain players now, with Chris Gayle announcing his retirement at this point and whatnot, do you think they need to start looking at building a team around a different core group of players?
Indeed, I think a World Cup, and at the end of a World Cup, allows every cricketing nation to start grooming a next generation of players for the next edition of the World Cup. It's an opportunity to cleanse. It's an opportunity to start afresh. And I agree with Huss in terms of what has to happen. That has been happening for some time. one of the things I want to mention about this campaign, there's not been a continuity in terms of the technical team, which was there before and prior to the start of this World Cup. Floyd Reefer, whilst he would have joined the team prior to the start of this World Cup campaign, he wasn't at the helm of West Indian cricket as a coach. So there will be a lot of debate about him and his sort of usefulness and his ability to take this team forward. I know that Phil Simmons was a part of the technical team before he had issues with the board. So there's been a changing of the guard, so to speak, prior to this World Cup. I think continuity is very important from a technical point of view, and that figurehead, that head coach, must set the tone for West Indian cricket. The other thing I want to talk about is in terms of trends that we've seen. Some of the best batsmen in world cricket, if you look at their stats, you look at a guy like Joe Root, you look at a guy like Virat Kohli, you look at Kane Williamson, they have a large database of first-class cricket behind them. They dominate all formats of the game. And I'm not saying you're going to constantly find a Kane Williamson or a Virat Kohli in the West Indies. But what you've got to understand as a young player is if you want to have a successful career across formats and a sustainable career, you can't just pigeonhole yourself into playing one format of the game. And I think that's the strong message that has to be sent by Cricket West Indies. And the structures must be put in place for these young players to understand that from early days, that it requires honing skills for 4-day cricket, for 50-over cricket, and T20 cricket. When you start developing that type of thinking, then I think when you look at a World Cup in 4 years' time, you would see players who can better adapt. Roston Chase, in my estimation, should have been a part of this World Cup team just on his ability and what he's shown in the test format. He's only played a handful of one-day 50-over cricket, but he's got 5 test match centuries. He bowls a useful off-break, and we need to inspire and encourage and motivate these sort of players as well. Not only skew 50-over cricket into selecting players who dominate T20 cricket, because we're seeing here in this World Cup campaign that they're just not cutting it. They don't sustain. They just don't have the intensity to sort of be there and get through the tough periods, whether it's bowling or batting in 50-over cricket.
Right, so time for some retrospection for an introspection for West Indies cricket, and that'll probably happen at the end of this league phase. Just to remind you of what happens to the teams now as a result of this game. This heavy defeat and this heavy win for India sees them just leapfrog New Zealand and get to second place on the points table. West Indies still have 2 games left against Sri Lanka and Afghanistan before their campaign will come to an end. Kartik, very quickly, impressive from India. You see them finishing top now as a result of just how you've seen with everyone play?
Look, tough to say that.
Yeah.
You never know who's going to be a banana skin right now. You've got 2 more games. One is England. Obviously, they must be smarting from their defeats and wanting to put their World Cup campaign on track. So it's a tough one to say. But the signs are there. The signs are definitely good to see that this this Indian team is doing everything which it asked for.
We'll pick up this chat on India on Sunday when it's India v England. Many thanks to Mike Hussey, Murali Kartik and Daren Ganga, viewers in the Caribbean. Time to hear from both captains of the presentation, viewers on ESPNcricinfo. We'll see you tomorrow before the start of the game between South Africa and Sri Lanka.